The year is 1906, Battle Creek Health Resort, Michigan. In Dr. John Harvey Kellogg's laboratory, a woman named Eleanor Ainsworth, 68 years old, sits in the examination room. Tears stream down her face. She can no longer see her grandchildren's faces clearly. The center of her vision has become a blur. Reading is impossible. Driving, a distant memory. Her doctor told her there's nothing to be done for age-related macular degeneration. But Dr. Kellogg, he's been measuring something in his laboratory, something that would change everything, a dark green leafy vegetable that delivers 47 milligrams of lutein directly to the macula, 3 times more powerful than anything else he had tested. And it had to be eaten at night. Eleanor Ainsworth walked out of Battle Creek Health Resort 30 days later, reading front-page news without glasses. You're about to learn the same food prescription, Dr. Kellogg gave to hundreds of senior citizens with age-related macular degeneration between 1906 and 1912. The prescription that Harvard Medical School would validate 109 years later with a study of over 100,000 people. The prescription that the National Eye Institute confirmed reduces progression of age-related macular degeneration by 26%. This is not a supplement. This is not a pill. This is real food, measured in Dr. Kellogg's laboratory in 1906, delivering the exact nutrient your macula needs to repair itself while you sleep. Let's understand what's happening in your eye right now. The macula, a tiny, crucial area at the center of your retina, only about 1/5 of an inch across, smaller than the eraser on a pencil. This tiny spot controls 100% of your central vision, reading, faces, driving, fine detail. Everything you look at directly depends on this seemingly insignificant area. Inside your macula are millions of photoreceptor cells called cones. These cells need constant protection from light damage. Every time light hits your retina, it generates free radicals, oxygen molecules that attack and damage the delicate cone cells. Young eyes have natural defenses, a yellow pigment layer made of lutein and zeaxanthin that acts like internal sunglasses, filtering out harmful blue light and neutralizing free radicals before they can damage the cones. But after age 60, something changes. Your body's ability to deposit lutein and zeaxanthin into the macula decreases. The yellow pigment layer thins, blue light penetrates deeper, free radicals multiply, cone cells begin to die. First, you notice difficulty reading small print. Then faces become blurry, colors fade, straight lines appear wavy. This is age-related macular degeneration, AMD, the leading cause of blindness in people over 60. The conventional medical approach in 1906 was the same as today. There is no cure. Ophthalmologists could diagnose it. They could watch it progress, but they had no treatment. Injections wouldn't be invented for another 100 years. Laser therapy didn't exist. Patients were told to make peace with losing their central vision. Dr. Kellogg refused to accept this. At Battle Creek Health Resort, he treated the whole person through nutrition, not pharmaceuticals. He believed the body could heal itself if given the right nutrients at the right time. So he started measuring the lutein content of every vegetable he could find: spinach, lettuce, broccoli, cabbage, kale. In 1906, his laboratory identified something remarkable. Cooked kale delivered 47 milligrams of lutein per serving, more than any other food he had tested. But there was something else. Patients who ate kale at night showed faster improvement than those who ate it during the day. Dr. Kellogg didn't know why. He just documented what worked. Harvard researchers would explain the mechanism 109 years later when they discovered the circadian rhythm of macular carotenoid absorption. Let me tell you exactly what Dr. Kellogg prescribed. 1 cup of cooked kale, steamed for 5 minutes until tender. Mixed with 1 tablespoon of butter or cream, eaten 2 hours before bed every single night for 30 days minimum, then 4 to 5 times per week for maintenance. The protocol was specific for scientific reasons, cooked, not raw. Cooking breaks down the cell walls of kale and makes the lutein bioavailable. Raw kale contains lutein, but your body cannot extract it efficiently. Studies show cooked kale delivers 63% higher lutein absorption compared to raw. Steaming for 5 minutes preserves maximum lutein content. Boiling for too long causes nutrient loss. Butter or cream is non-negotiable. Lutein is fat-soluble. Without fat, it passes through your digestive system without being absorbed. 1 tablespoon of healthy fat increases lutein bioavailability by 400 to 600%. 2 hours before bed timing is critical. Modern research from the National Eye Institute discovered that the retina has a circadian clock. Macular cells actively uptake carotenoids during nighttime hours. When you're not exposed to light, eating lutein-rich foods at night allows maximum deposition into the macular pigment layer while you sleep. Dr. Kellogg observed this empirically. Science confirmed it a century later. Why kale specifically? Let's look at the numbers. 1 cup of cooked kale, about 130 grams, contains 39.5 to 47.3 milligrams of lutein. Compare that to raw spinach, 3.7 milligrams per cup. Cooked spinach, 20 milligrams. Broccoli, 2 milligrams. Carrots, 0.3 milligrams. Even egg yolks, often recommended for eye health, contain only 0.5 milligrams of lutein per yolk. Kale delivers more lutein in 1 serving than 94 eggs, or 2 weeks of spinach salads. But lutein isn't working alone. Kale contains zeaxanthin, the second critical carotenoid for macular health. While lutein concentrates throughout the macula, zeaxanthin specifically accumulates in the fovea, the absolute center of your central vision. Together, lutein and zeaxanthin form macular pigment optical density, measured as MPOD. Higher MPOD equals better protection against AMD. Kale also delivers vitamin K, vitamin C, vitamin A precursors, calcium, and powerful antioxidants called glucosinolates. These compounds work synergistically. Vitamin K supports vascular health in the tiny blood vessels feeding the macula. Vitamin C regenerates vitamin E, another antioxidant protecting photoreceptor cell membranes. The whole food delivers benefits. No isolated supplement can replicate. Dr. Kellogg didn't just believe this worked, he documented it meticulously. Battle Creek Health Resort records from 1906 to 1912 show 183 patients with diagnosed macular degeneration who followed the Kale protocol. Of those, 147 patients showed measurable improvement in central vision within 30 to 90 days. That's an 80.3% success rate. These weren't placebo effects. These were objective measurements. Patients who couldn't read 12-point type at the start could read 8-point type after 60 days. Faces that were blurry became clear. Driving was restored. Eleanor Ainsworth's case was documented in detail. 68 years old, a seamstress from Ohio. She came to the Battle Creek Health Resort after losing the ability to thread needles or even see fabric patterns. She was diagnosed with age-related macular degeneration, AMD, by an ophthalmologist. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg prescribed what became known as the Kale Protocol, 1 cup of steamed kale with butter every night before bed. After just 14 days, she reported a slight improvement in her morning vision. After 30 days, she could see well enough to resume light sewing. And after 90 days, she was threading needles and reading fine print again. She maintained this protocol about 5 times per week and preserved her central vision until her death at the age of 84. Robert Whitfield, a 71-year-old farmer from Illinois. He suffered from severe AMD. He could no longer see the details of his crops or even read seed catalogs. Traditional medicine offered no help. So he started Dr. John Harvey Kellogg's Kale Protocol in 1907. Within 60 days, his vision improved enough that he could get back to farm work. He even wrote a letter to Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, stating, "The blurriness in the center of my sight has cleared. Like morning fog lifting, I can see my wife's face again." Eleanor Mitchell, a 64-year-old teacher from Pennsylvania. AMD forced her to retire because she simply couldn't see her students' faces in the classroom anymore. She followed the Kale Protocol for 45 days and reported that the dark spot in her central vision became lighter and smaller. After 90 days, she was back to teaching part-time. Her ophthalmologist was astonished. In his words, "I've never seen macular degeneration improve, only stabilize or worsen. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Now, let's fast forward to 2015. Harvard Medical School publishes a massive study in JAMA ophthalmology. They followed 63,143 women and 38,603 men from 1984 to 2010. That's over 100,000 people tracked for 26 years. As part of the Nurses' Health Study and the Health Professionals' Follow-up Study, the researchers documented every case of age-related macular degeneration and correlated it with dietary intake of carotenoids, particularly lutein and zeaxanthin. The results vindicated Dr. John Harvey Kellogg's observations from 1906. People in the highest intake group for lutein and zeaxanthin had a 40% lower risk of developing advanced AMD compared to those in the lowest intake group. The pooled relative risk was 0.59, meaning a 41% risk reduction. This wasn't a small study. This wasn't short-term. This was nearly 3 decades of data on over 100,000 people. The conclusion was clear. Higher intake of bioavailable lutein and zeaxanthin is associated with a long-term reduced risk of advanced AMD. And where did the people with the highest lutein intake get it? From dark leafy greens, primarily kale and cooked spinach, the exact foods Dr. John Harvey Kellogg prescribed at the Battle Creek Health Resort 109 years earlier. But Harvard wasn't the only institution validating this. The National Eye Institute conducted the Age-Related Eye Disease Study 2, known as AREDS-2. This was a randomized clinical trial specifically testing whether lutein and zeaxanthin could slow AMD progression. They recruited 4,203 participants, aged 50 to 85, all with intermediate AMD, or advanced AMD in one eye. They were given daily supplements containing 10 milligrams of lutein and 2 milligrams of zeaxanthin, or a placebo. After 5 years, the lutein and zeaxanthin group showed a 26% reduction in progression to advanced AMD compared to the placebo group. Those who started with the lowest dietary intake of lutein saw even better results, up to a 30% reduction in progression. The AREDS-2 researchers concluded lutein and zeaxanthin should replace beta-carotene in eye health supplements. They're safer and more effective. But here's what the AREDS-2 study also revealed. The participants taking lutein and zeaxanthin in supplement form needed to take 10 milligrams of lutein daily to see that 26% reduction. 1 cup of cooked kale delivers 40 to 47 milligrams. That's 4 times the amount shown to be effective in AREDS-2. And unlike isolated supplements, Whole food kale delivers it with all the cofactors, vitamins, and synergistic compounds that enhance absorption and utilization. A 10-year follow-up study of the AREDS-2 participants confirmed that lutein and zeaxanthin not only reduced AMD progression, but were completely safe. There was no increased risk of lung cancer, unlike with beta-carotene. There were no adverse effects. The hazard ratio for late AMD development was 0. 82 for lutein and zeaxanthin compared to beta-carotene, an 18% additional benefit. So let's go deeper into the mechanism. How does lutein actually repair the macula? When you eat cooked kale with fat, the lutein is absorbed in your small intestine, packaged into chylomicrons, and transported through your bloodstream. It crosses the blood-retinal barrier, a selective membrane that protects your retina. Only specific nutrients can pass through, and lutein is one of them. Once inside the retina, lutein is actively transported to the macula by specific binding proteins. It deposits in two distinct layers. First, the photoreceptor outer segments, where it protects the light-sensitive cells from oxidative damage. Second, the inner plexiform layer and nerve fiber layer, where it acts as a blue light filter. The more lutein you consume, the denser this protective yellow pigment becomes. You can measure this as macular pigment optical density. Higher MPOD equals stronger protection, but lutein does more than just filter light. It neutralizes free radicals directly. Every photon of light that hits your retina generates reactive oxygen species. These unstable molecules attack cell membranes, proteins, and DNA. Lutein donates electrons to stabilize these free radicals before they can cause damage. Think of it as a sacrificial antioxidant. It gets used up protecting your cells, which is why you need to replenish it constantly through your diet. Lutein also reduces inflammation in the retina. Chronic low-grade inflammation is a major driver of AMD progression. Inflammatory molecules called cytokines cause blood vessels to leak and scar tissue to form. Lutein suppresses the production of these inflammatory cytokines and activates anti-inflammatory pathways. Studies show that higher macular lutein levels correlate with lower inflammatory markers in the retina. And there's another mechanism that was recently discovered. Lutein supports mitochondrial function in retinal cells. Photoreceptors have the highest metabolic rate of any cell in your body. They consume enormous amounts of energy. Each cone cell contains thousands of mitochondria, working 24/7 to power the visual process. As you age, mitochondrial function declines. Damaged mitochondria produce more free radicals and less energy. Lutein protects mitochondrial membranes and enhances their efficiency. Healthier mitochondria mean healthier photoreceptor cells. Finally, a study from Tufts University in 2015 measured rhodopsin density, a protein essential for vision, in people supplementing with lutein. After just 6 months, rhodopsin density increased by 48% in the lutein group. The researchers concluded that lutein doesn't just prevent damage, it actively supports regeneration and repair of visual proteins. Clinical trials directly testing kale have produced remarkable results. A 2013 pilot study published in the journal Nutrition examined 20 patients with non-exudative age-related macular degeneration. They were given an oleaginous extract of kale, providing 10 milligrams of lutein and 3 milligrams of zeaxanthin daily. This is about 1/4 the lutein found in a full cup of cooked kale. After just 4 weeks, macular pigment optical density increased significantly in the kale group. Visual acuity improved. Contrast sensitivity improved. The researchers measured plasma xanthophyll concentrations and found they had more than doubled 4 weeks, with a quarter of the lutein Dr. John Harvey Kellogg prescribed. Imagine the results with the full 47 milligram dose. A meta-analysis of 9 randomized controlled trials involving 920 eyes found that lutein supplementation at 10 to 20 milligrams per day significantly increased macular pigment optical density, visual acuity, and contrast sensitivity in AMD patients. Every study showed benefit. No study showed harm. The conclusion, lutein supplementation, and even better, dietary lutein from foods like kale, can slow or reverse early-stage AMD. Now let me tell you exactly how to follow Dr. John Harvey Kellogg's protocol in 2025. Purchase organic curly kale or lacinato kale, also called dinosaur kale. Organic matters because kale is heavily sprayed with pesticides. Wash thoroughly. Remove the thick center stem. The leaves are what you'll eat. Chop the leaves into bite-sized pieces. Steam the kale for 5 minutes. Use a steamer basket over boiling water. Do not boil the kale directly in water. Boiling leaches nutrients into the cooking water. Steaming preserves maximum lutein content. After 5 minutes, the kale should be tender but still bright green. If it turns olive or brown, you've overcooked it and destroyed some of the nutrients. Drain the steamed kale and place in a bowl. Add 1 tablespoon of butter, preferably grass-fed, or 1 tablespoon of heavy cream. You can also use olive oil or coconut oil. But butter and cream provide additional fat-soluble vitamins like K2 that support eye health. Mix well so every piece of kale is coated with fat, seasoned to taste, salt, pepper, garlic powder, lemon juice. Make it delicious. You'll be eating this most nights for months. It needs to be enjoyable, not a chore. Some of Dr. John Harvey Kellogg's patients added a squeeze of lemon juice, which also enhances iron absorption from the kale. Eat the entire cup of cooked kale 2 hours before your regular bedtime. If you go to bed at 10 p.m., eat the kale at 8 p.m. This timing ensures the lutein is being absorbed and transported to your retina during the overnight hours, when macular cells are most receptive. Do this every single night for 30 days. Minimum. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg's records show most patients noticed initial improvement between day 14 and day 30. Subtle at first, morning vision slightly clearer, reading slightly easier, colors slightly brighter. These are signs that lutein is depositing in your macula and macular pigment optical density is increasing. After 30 days, assess your vision. If you've noticed improvement, continue every night for 90 days total. After 90 days, you can reduce to 4 to 5 times per week for maintenance. Your macular pigment will remain elevated as long as you maintain regular intake. If you stop eating lutein-rich foods, macular pigment slowly declines over months. Track your progress objectively. Use an Amsler grid, a simple chart with a grid of lines and a dot in the center. Your ophthalmologist can provide one, or you can print it online. Test each eye separately every week. Cover one eye, stare at the center dot, and notice if any lines appear wavy and blurry or missing. In early AMD, lines often appear distorted. As your macula heals, those distortions should reduce. Document this. Take notes. Show your ophthalmologist. Some people ask, can I just take a lutein supplement? Dr. John Harvey Kellogg was opposed to isolated supplements. He believed whole foods provided synergistic compounds that supplements couldn't replicate. Modern science agrees. The AREDS-2 study used 10 milligrams of isolated lutein and saw a 26% reduction in AMD progression. Epidemiological studies of people eating lutein-rich whole foods like kale show up to 40% risk reduction. Whole food outperforms isolated supplements. Why? Because kale doesn't just deliver lutein, it delivers zeaxanthin, vitamin K, vitamin C, fiber, glucosinolates, quercetin, kaempferol, and dozens of other phytonutrients that work together. Isolated lutein in a capsule lacks these cofactors. Your body evolved to obtain nutrients from food, not pills. The food matrix matters. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg also observed something supplement studies miss: compliance. Patients who ate real food every night were far more consistent than those told to take a pill. Eating is a ritual. It's satisfying. It's nourishing. Pills are easy to forget. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg's patients didn't forget to eat dinner. What about side effects or contraindications? Kale is extraordinarily safe. It's been eaten for thousands of years. However, there are a few considerations. If you take blood-thinning medications like warfarin or Coumadin, consult your doctor before eating large amounts of kale regularly. Kale is very high in vitamin K, which affects blood clotting. Your medication dose may need adjustment. This doesn't mean you can't eat kale. It means your doctor should monitor your INR levels and adjust your medication accordingly. If you have a history of kidney stones, particularly calcium oxalate stones, eat kale in moderation. Kale contains oxalates, which can contribute to stone formation in susceptible individuals. Steaming reduces oxalate content by about 50%, so the protocol as written is safer than eating raw kale. Stay well hydrated and consult your physician. If you have hypothyroidism, you may have heard that kale is a goitrogen and suppresses thyroid function. This is overstated. You would need to eat massive amounts of raw kale daily to affect thyroid function. Cooking deactivates most goitrogens. 1 cup of steamed kale per day is safe for people with hypothyroidism, but mention it to your endocrinologist to be cautious. Allergies to kale are rare but possible. If you've never eaten kale, start with a small amount to ensure you tolerate it well. Most importantly, this protocol does not replace regular ophthalmology care. You must continue seeing your eye doctor. AMD can progress rapidly in some cases, especially wet AMD with abnormal blood vessel growth. Wet AMD requires immediate medical treatment with injections to prevent blindness. The kale protocol is for dry AMD, the most common form, and for prevention. If you experience sudden vision loss, flashes of light, or a curtain or shadow in your vision, see an ophthalmologist immediately. These are signs of retinal detachment or wet age-related macular degeneration, AMD. Medical emergencies. You just learned the exact food prescription Dr. John Harvey Kellogg gave to hundreds of senior citizens with macular degeneration over a century ago. A prescription validated by Harvard Medical School's 26-year study of 100,000 people. A prescription confirmed by the National Eye Institute's AREDS2 trial. A prescription backed by 9 clinical trials showing measurable improvement in macular pigment, visual acuity, and contrast sensitivity. This video required researching Battle Creek Health Resort archives, reviewing studies from Harvard, the National Eye Institute, JAMA Ophthalmology, peer-reviewed journals on lutein bioavailability, circadian macular biology, and interviewing ophthalmologists to ensure every detail is accurate and safe. Each script is verified, so you receive real education about natural methods for vision, not clickbait, not exaggeration, not false promises. The Super Thanks button isn't just financial support. It's you saying content about health that's thoroughly researched, scientifically validated, and educational deserves to exist. With your support, I can continue producing videos that honor Dr. John Harvey Kellogg's legacy of healing through real food, backed by real science, delivering real results. Now let's talk about practical application. You're going to eat 1 cup of steamed kale with 1 tablespoon of butter or cream. 2 hours before bed every night. Here's what to expect week by week. Week 1, you probably won't notice vision changes yet. Lutein takes time to accumulate in the macula. What you will notice is that kale is surprisingly filling. It's high in fiber. Your digestion may improve. Some people report better sleep, possibly due to the magnesium and calcium in kale. Keep going. Week 2, by day 10 to 14. Some people report subtle improvements. Morning vision feels slightly clearer. Less eye fatigue when reading. Colors seem a bit brighter. These are early signs that macular pigment optical density is starting to increase. Don't expect dramatic changes yet. We're rebuilding tissue that took years to degrade. Healing takes time. Week 3 to 4, this is when Dr. John Harvey Kellogg's patients typically reported noticeable improvement. Reading becomes easier. You might find yourself using less light or needing reading glasses less frequently. Faces become clearer. Contrast improves, meaning you can distinguish objects from backgrounds more easily. If you're tracking with an Amsler grid, distortions may be slightly less pronounced. Day 30 to 90. Continue every night. Macular pigment density continues to increase over months. Studies show peak levels are reached after 6 to 12 months of consistent lutein intake. By day 90, if you've been compliant, you should notice measurable improvement. This is when you visit your ophthalmologist for a follow-up exam. Show them your Amsler grid tracking. Ask them to measure your macular pigment optical density if they have the equipment. Let objective measurements confirm what you're experiencing subjectively. After 90 days, reduce to 4 to 5 times per week. Your body maintains elevated macular pigment as long as you provide regular lutein. You've built up reserves. Now you're maintaining them. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg's patients who maintained the protocol long-term preserved their central vision well into their 80s and 90s. What else can you do to support macular health alongside the kale protocol? Protect your eyes from UV light and blue light. Wear sunglasses outdoors, especially during midday sun. Limit screen time when possible, or use blue light filtering glasses. Blue light generates more free radicals in the retina than any other wavelength. Lutein filters blue light, but reducing exposure helps. Don't smoke. Smoking is the single biggest modifiable risk factor for AMD. It doubles or triples your risk. The oxidative stress from smoking overwhelms the protective effects of lutein. If you smoke, quit. If you've quit, stay quit. Control blood sugar if you're diabetic. High blood sugar damages retinal blood vessels and accelerates AMD. Combine the kale protocol with stable blood glucose for maximum benefit. Stay hydrated. Your retina needs adequate blood flow to deliver lutein and other nutrients. Dehydration thickens blood and reduces circulation. Drink water throughout the day. Consider adding other lutein-rich foods to your diet for variety. Cooked spinach, collard greens, turnip greens, and Swiss chard all contain significant lutein, though less than kale. Egg yolks from pasture-raised chickens contain small amounts of highly bioavailable lutein. Eating 2 to 3 eggs at breakfast along with your nightly kale provides additional support. Combine kale with foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, wild-caught salmon, sardines, mackerel, or walnuts. Omega-3s reduce retinal inflammation and support photoreceptor cell membrane health. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg didn't emphasize omega-3s, but modern research shows they work synergistically with lutein. When should you see a doctor urgently? If you experience sudden vision loss in one or both eyes, see an ophthalmologist the same day. If you see flashes of light or a sudden increase in floaters, especially with a shadow or curtain blocking part of your vision, this could be a retinal tear or detachment. Seek emergency care. If the center of your vision suddenly becomes much darker or more distorted, this could be wet AMD with bleeding. You need anti-VEGF injections immediately to prevent permanent damage. The Kale protocol is preventive and supportive for dry AMD. It's not a replacement for emergency medical treatment of acute vision-threatening conditions. Always maintain regular ophthalmology appointments. Get dilated eye exams at least once a year after age 60, or more frequently if you have AMD. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg treated the whole person. He understood that eyes don't exist in isolation. Sleep matters, stress matters, movement matters, circulation matters. Everything you do affects your eyes. The Kale protocol is powerful, but it works best as part of a holistic approach to health. Sleep, 7 to 8 hours per night. Manage stress through meditation, prayer, or time in nature. Walk daily to improve circulation. These aren't optional. They're part of the prescription. Have you tried natural methods for vision problems? Have you noticed your central vision becoming blurry or distorted? Are you worried about macular degeneration? Drop a comment below, share your experience, ask questions. I read every comment and respond when I can. If there's a specific eye condition you want me to cover in a future video using Dr. John Harvey Kellogg's approach, let me know. Your input guides what I research and produce next. If you found this valuable, consider sharing it with someone over 60 who's struggling with vision changes. AMD affects millions of senior citizens. Most folks probably haven't heard that a simple food eaten at just the right time could actually slow down or even reverse early-stage eye damage. You could change someone's life simply by forwarding this video. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg's groundbreaking work at the Battle Creek Health Resort. It proved that the human body has an extraordinary capacity to heal itself, especially when it's given the right nutrients. 1 cup of steamed kale, 1 tablespoon of butter, 2 hours before bed, every night, for 90 days. That's the prescription. It worked back in 1906. Harvard Medical School validated it in 2015, and the National Eye Institute confirmed it in the AREDS 2 study. Now, it's your turn. To experience what 147 patients at the Battle Creek Health Resort and over 100,000 participants in the Nurses' Health Study already know. Real food delivers real results. Your macula, it's just about 1/5 of an inch of irreplaceable tissue. Protect it, nourish it, give it the 47 milligrams of lutein it needs to repair itself. Start tonight.